Welcome, y'all. It's Wes with DIY Food Plot Pro. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's episode, we are talking about a hot and touchy subject: bait versus food plots. Which is better? Which one you need to have on your farm to maximize your chance at killing bucks and killing mature bucks? My name is Wes. I run the channel DIY Food Plot Pro. I've got a Bachelor of Science in Agronomy. I farm for a living, and I've got a 2,900 acre whitetail deer hunting outfitter in Western Kentucky where we cannot bait. So we rely heavily on the food plots and the habitat improvements that I make on the channel to hunt, hold, and harvest the whitetails that we're blessed to hunt here in Western Kentucky. We've always been able to bait here in Kentucky. We are in the far western part of Kentucky. They found a CWD deer down near the Tennessee line a few years ago. And basically Fish and Wildlife went nuts and said, whoop, no more baiting, we're done. No more minerals, no more corn piles, no nothing. So we've kind of went into that area to where we've seen both sides of this. And I think that makes what I'm gonna share with you pretty interesting, because I've seen both sides of this. I've seen the side of baiting and I've seen the side of no baiting. So I have a lot of experience with this, especially running on 2,900 acres. And I want to share some of those experiences with you today and which one I truly believe is better for killing a buck in general or killing a mature buck. So before the bait ban, we had corn piles on every farm that we had. Everybody else in Kentucky, that's just how we did it, right? Nobody hunted without bait. So if you could physically get out in those woods and put corn piles, put them on the edge of the field, that's what everybody did. It was very common practice. Farmers were selling a tremendous amount of grain around to hunters. Started really, as soon as the bucks started putting some velvet on, started seeing corn piles being put out. And it went all the way up until the end of the deer season. So when we got thrown into that bait ban 3 years ago now, it really changed the way that we had to hunt, right? Because the good thing about a corn pile, it's different than a food plot, is because we can put that corn pile where we need it to be. So access becomes less important. Bedding areas become less important. We can put that corn where it's best for us. It's much more difficult to do that with food plots, right? We have to go and put food plots on the available land that we have. So unless we get a dozer and a track hoe in here and decide to plant a food plot right here, we can't put a food plot here. It's woods. Well, we could easily add 4 or 5 bags of corn here and hunt over this. It changed things dramatically when we went from baiting to a non-baiting area. Some things about bait that are beneficial. If you are looking to kill a buck, don't care if it's mature or not, just a buck, bait piles are better, in my opinion. It's hard to beat a bait pile when you're trying to kill a buck. When you're trying to kill a mature buck, no doubt about it, food plots are better. It's a more natural type environment that deer feel much more comfortable coming to. We've all seen those properties to where when we first started baiting, maybe there was no baiting in that area for a long time. When we first started baiting that, man, it was like crazy to them, right? They were just coming in, big bucks coming in, daylight all the time, no big deal, right? We hunt it for a year or two, and then all of a sudden, the game's up. The hunting gets slower, gets harder. Bucks start transitioning towards nighttime. A lot more nocturnal stuff's going on. It makes it a whole lot different of a deal when you're having to rely on food that you've grown versus something that you can just throw out here. These deer figure that out quickly. I have numerous examples. The first year that I rented this property, we had tremendous amount of big bucks using this place. We killed a couple of them one year. I mean, some darn good ones. But there was tons of them left for next year. So I thought, man, this is going to be a really good spot. And it only took 1 year of hunting over that bait before those deer really all of a sudden started doing what you see online. Hey, my deer are becoming nocturnal. They're not coming to my corn pile anymore. What's going on? They know what's going on. They have already made that assumption that that corn pile is danger. You go in and you watch a doe come up to a corn pile. She's scared to death. She's sitting there looking all the time. She's on edge. It can be really difficult shooting a doe off a corn pile because, or a deer in general off a corn pile, they're so nervous about them. They know that corn pile is not realistic. Where a food plot is typically in an area they feel much more comfortable coming into. Now, a lot of folks don't have a lot of success hunting over food plots. Most of the time when that's the case, it's because the deer know you're going to that food plot, or the winds are being wrong when they're hunting that food plot. That has to be very meticulous. There are spots that I would love to be hunting right now, but the wind's not right for them. I'm not going in there. And you have to be very disciplined in that. And for me, being a whitetail outfitter, it's pretty easy because I'm not the one hunting. I'm telling the guys, you're going here, you're going here, you're going here. I have an entire book set up for wind direction, things like that. We don't go to this food plot here unless we have this wind that's good for us, not good for the deer. We don't go in there and we don't hunt it on a backwards wind. We don't try to close the doors up and hang some scents out to wind. We don't do that. We hunt a wind. That way we lessen the pressure on the food plots. The thing that I like about food plots, you're legitimately building and helping the deer herd. Corn pile, you're not helping the deer herd. You're just not. And that's okay. But let's just call a spade here. A corn pile is not helping a deer herd. We're not leaving that corn pile out year round. Let's flip this around. We got a corn pile or we got a 2-acre cornfield. A cornfield is going to supply food to those whitetails long after we're done hunting. When's the most stressful time on a deer? It's the winter time, right? After they get run down from that rut, those bucks lose a significant amount of body fat. They're trying to get rebuilt back up for wintertime. Well, what's the best way to do that with that good food source down there? The thing about a corn pile is that corn pile is only there, it's only benefiting while you're still putting it out. And as many good intentions as we have, when season goes out, most of us, not all of us, but most of us would stop putting corn piles out. Season's over, not checking cameras anymore. I'm not wasting $9 a bag on a 50-pound bag of corn. They're eating in 2 days. So I'm just done with it. I can go out here and I can plant 2 acres of corn and I can leave this corn here for them all winter long. Well, all of a sudden it's benefiting them all the way from summer when they're eating it, fall, winter, all the way up until next spring or till it lasts. In my opinion, food plots are far better than corn piles. Corn piles are strictly for us. That's what that is. Where food plots are, they have to be thought about harder. They have to have more equipment is involved. It's more difficult, more time consuming, it's more money. Fertilizer, seed, chemical, all that stuff adds up when you're doing these food plots versus going and buying 10 or 12 bags, 50-pound bags of corn and dumping them out during the rut. To make your property different, I think you have to have that food source on that property that's not a corn pile. I have seen a direct correlation with having a lot of excess food. Last year we had 3 or 4 different corn plots that had a tremendous amount of food left in them. How's that translate to this year? I'm not saying that this is the reason for that, but I think it absolutely helped. We've got the best class of bucks that we've ever had. No question about it. It's the best class of bucks that we've ever had. Now, there's no doubt the mild winter helped that. Now, the abundance of white oak acorns last year helped that as well. But that's not a one-time deal. That's food during critical times the entire year. So my food has been available to them for 3-4 years now since we started doing this so heavily, leaving it for them. That all of a sudden translates into the younger deer being more healthy. If that mama doe can get back up to weight faster in the spring, or that buck can get back up to weight faster in the spring, they're putting more time and effort and energy into either raising that fawn or to get that bigger rack. It all kind of correlates with one another, and it's not a one-time fix-all. Through talking to a lot of people, they think it's a one-time deal. Well, I planted my 1.5 acres in oats this year. I couldn't tell any difference in the buck herd. Well, you're not going to. Not in 1 year. It's a long-term deal. You're providing food for that herd. There's no question it's going to pull deer to your farm if you're the only one in the area doing it. But it's also going to help the herd. Somebody's going to ask this, so I'm just going to go ahead and answer it on here. What do you do if your neighbors are putting corn piles out and you don't have corn piles? This is something that gets real tricky real fast because corn is like candy to a deer. It's not the most nutritious thing in the world, right? But they absolutely love it. It's the second most preferred food source that a whitetail has. The number 1 is white oak acorns. Number 2 is corn. If you are hunting over, say, a perennial clover plot, and your neighbors surrounding you have corn piles, what would I do? I would try to back off the food, and I would try to keep corn piles out in that perennial clover plot. 1 year I did this with a brassica plot, and I know I had a neighbor that was baiting heavily. I went in and planted 3 acres of brassicas. It was a cover crop blend is what it was. It was some turnips, some radishes, some clovers, and some oats and some winter wheat. I think it was a 5-pack of cover crop. Put that out there but I still continued to bait. The landowner next to me called me halfway through the season and was like, hey, I wonder what's going on with all these deer. We're just not really seeing anything on our side. What are y'all seeing? And you don't hate to just tell everything that you know, right? But we were seeing a tremendous amount of deer, and we were having a lot of success that year. By adding that corn pile to that food plot, we really helped that entire area out significantly by having more than one just food source there. Because there's no doubt the deer are going to eat corn, but you obviously see, when we used to put corn out in soybeans, the corn pile would be ate down pretty hard, but all the beans around it would be ate as well. They're not just going to just hammer that corn. So they're going to go out and they're going to spread throughout that, and they're going to eat the surrounding areas. Well, if you have a food plot mixed in with that corn, you have an absolute killer place to hunt, because those deer have multiple food sources in there. And that's what I try to do on my food plots. When I first started, I was planting just a lot of standing corn, and that's a great hunt, don't get me wrong. But what I like to do now, and what I've kind of transitioned to, is I'll raise my 2, 3, 4, 5 acres of standing corn, how much ever's in that field. And then I'll come back, and then I'm going to add winter wheat. I'm going to add my clovers, my annual clovers, my oats, anything like that, my brassicas. And I'm going to add that in and amongst that corn plot and have the best of both worlds there. That way I've got 5 different food sources or 6 different food sources for those whitetails in one area that they're coming to. Just makes the spot even that much better. In general, I think food plots are way, 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 way better for killing mature bucks and for actually helping your herd. For bait piles, I think you are looking at low pressured areas. If you have high pressured areas, corn piles, in my opinion, are very slim used during daylight period. You have very low pressure areas. You're very conscious of the wind that you're hunting. You're not over hunting it. A corn pile can be very, very good. But most folks are I'm going to Old Faithful right here tomorrow morning. Well, what's the wind doing? I don't know. I'm going to Old Faithful. That teaches deer, whether it's over a corn pile or over a food plot, that food is not secured. If the food's not secure, you're not going to have big bucks hitting it during daylight. That's just all it amounts to. Your food has to be secure. Those deer have to feel comfortable going in there during daylight and not getting boogered, not smelling human scent, not seeing humans. All that has to be played into those food plots. Most all the times when I go out on the farm visits doing the consultations, a lot of guys, we can't hunt over food plots. They're not working for us. We don't ever have daylight bucks out there. Well, we've done it for years, and we kill, multiple good bucks every year over those open fields. But we hunt them with the correct winds. We have access set up before we ever put the food there. Access is thought of first. So it's kind of one of those things. That's what the corn piles are benefiting you this year. The food plots are benefiting the herd and you over a longer period of time. If you need help setting up your farms, your food plots, your habitat improvements, you can go to www.diyfoodplotpro.com, click on Contact Us or Boots on the Ground Visit. That'll send me an email. I'll send you an email. We'll get your contact information, get you scheduled for a visit this winter, and we will go through all this and we'll design this. We'll design the access. We'll design the stand and blind locations, the food plots, the screening, all the cover, everything that goes down to breaking that farm down and making it the best it possibly can be. So that's something that interests you. You can go to www.diyfoodplotpro.com, click on Contact Us or Boots on the Ground Visit. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Y'all smash that like and subscribe button.